Good evening, happy Boxing Day. Hope you're all well today. If you like this video, consider liking and subscribing, it does help the channel out a lot. Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform UK, the establishment is moving to try to get them, or him, banned from upcoming election debates for the Senedd coming next year. And I want to sort of unpack this a little bit to give you a little bit of context and a little bit of precedence, and it's just another attempt. They want to shut down any opposition to their democracy. When they say their democracy, you just switch out the words their democracy or our democracy with us winning. It cuts through the chatter, it cuts through the noise, and it exposes them for what they are. Absolutely terrified and running scared. And to be frank, they should be. So we're going to get into the article now. The BBC has come under pressure to block Nigel Farage from appearing in leaders' debates in the run-up to next year's Senedd election. The national broadcaster has yet to decide on whether Reform UK would be allowed to nominate their leader to debate with the likes of the First Minister and Welsh Labour leader, Alan de Morgan, and Plaid Cymru's leader, run-up Iorwerth. Let me continue with the article now. So far, Reform has not appointed or elected a Welsh leader to take charge of his campaign or put forward a potential First Minister. Opponents argue this is because the party is essentially a personality cult built around Nigel Farage, and that Reform is unwilling to give up the leadership role to somebody perceived less likely to win votes than him. Not true. If you look at all the Reform MPs, including the two that aren't currently sitting as Reform MPs, they're all very specific, they're all standouts, and they all have very clear personalities. So it can't be a personality cult if all 7 of the MPs that have been elected under a Reform ticket are standouts. Lee Anderson, Sarah Pochin, my MP, the best MP we've had up in Runcorn Houseby for 50 years, Nigel himself, Rupert Lowe, James McMurdoch, Richard Tice. They are all standout people, they are all knockouts. Alright, so it's not a personality cult. I will argue and contest that point. Then we get into the meat of the article here. We asked the BBC Wales if it had made a decision on whether Nigel Farage would be able to represent Reform in leadership debates. A BBC Wales spokesperson said, "We'll be announcing our plans for the election programmes and the coverage in due course." ITV Wales, however, has already made their decision. In May 2025, in an event to mark a year to go to the election, the broadcaster said, head of news, Zoe Thomas, we stated that nearly a decade-long position that participants in debates must be candidates for the relevant election. Speaking in a personal capacity, a UK Labour source told Nation Camry, Farage is the leader of the party, and I think it sends out the wrong message if he's blocked from appearing in debates. And then finally, if his opponents are so convinced that their arguments will defeat him, they should be prepared to debate him and demonstrate their strength in beliefs in comparison to his. But Blaenau Gwent, Welsh Labour MP Alan Davies responded, an argument like this may go down well in London, but doesn't go down well in Wales and doesn't wash in Wales. We are not talking about what happens in a debating society, we're talking about the governments of Wales. Farage has no place in such a debate and will not be a candidate and not a potential First Minister. Couple of things here. I remember in the leaders' debate for the Westminster, the British elections in 2015. The SNP sent their strongest debater to debate, Nicola Sturgeon. She wasn't running for the British elections. She wasn't running for a seat in Westminster. I believe the Westminster leader of the SNP at that point was Angus Robertson. Why wasn't he debating in the leaders' debate down in London? Why? Why was it Nicola Sturgeon? It appears that they want to have their cake and eat it. They want to block any potentials that may debate them under the table in their local elections, either in Scotland or in Wales. But they want to send their representatives to debate in Westminster. Westminster. You cannot have it both ways, in my view. They've already cancelled elections, local elections. I wouldn't be surprised if they scrap the Senedd and the Holyrood elections next year, that being the ruling Labour Party, because they know they're going to get absolutely wrecked. These are just my opinions. Your mileage may vary. Now, I don't want to give advice to the opposition to Reform UK. I don't want to give advice to Labour or the Tories or the Lib Dems. Nigel Farage is the least of your problems. You're running around with your sandwich board and your bell, screaming from the rooftops and the mountains, and Nigel Farage is the biggest, baddest racist in the United Kingdom. He's the least of it, alright? He's merely the gateway drug to something far bigger and far more extreme, in my view. And this is what I continue to say on my channel. If reform doesn't deliver in government in 2029, after we unseat every single safe-seated MP from Labour, the Lib Dems and Tories, then what's going to come after will frighten and petrify the champagne socialist classes. If you think I'm onto something, comment below. If you think I'm over-egging things and I'm overestimating how effective a debater Farage is, let me know. I think he's the most skilled politician that we've had over the past 30 years who's not been Prime Minister. Now, comment, like and subscribe. Do all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next video. Do you think that they want to bar him simply because he's going to debate any of the local MPs or assembly members under the table? Do you think the running's good? Do you think that the precedent that was set with Nicola Sturgeon debating in the Westminster elections means that they have to allow Nigel to debate? Do all that good stuff. Comment, like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day, and I hope you continue to enjoy the festive period.